In today's video, we're going to break down what lighting equipment you really need to get started. Not every photographer will need all the equipment I talk about in this video, and exactly which of these items you may want to purchase will depend on you and your personal photography style. Even just within the food photography genre, it can be surprising how much variation there is in the equipment and the techniques different photographers use. But with that being said, clearly there's quite a lot of ground to cover, so without further ado, let's get into it. If you're blessed with a well-lit space, with nice large north-facing windows in a part of the world that enjoys year-round good weather, you may have already decided that you're going to work exclusively with natural light. If so, congratulations. Of course, the sun is a much cheaper option when it comes to food photography lighting, but very few of us are blessed with these perfect circumstances, and most professional photographers will need to learn to work with artificial light in at least some capacity. Nevertheless, even if daylight is your method of choice, there may be a few items that you want to consider purchasing, like some modifiers for your home studio, so as to better be able to control that light. Specifically, you might want to get some black panels or black foam core for negative fill, some reflectors or white foam core. You might want to pick up some diffusers and a scrim. I personally have a really large 5 by 7 foot scrim that I love, and maybe a few other bits as well. Whether you're working with natural light or artificial light, most of the way that you're going to shape the light is by using modifiers. And just these few simple things can really help you take your lighting to the next level. The reality is not all of us have access to consistently available daylight. Case in point, I live in a part of the world where the daylight is highly inconsistent, especially in my very south-facing studio. And I'm actually lucky if there's much more than a faint glow during some of the foggy winter months. That is living in a valley for you. So clearly an all daylight setup isn't a serious option in my case. And if I really want to be a professional food photographer, I can't limit my working hours to when I have natural daylight available. What's more, many photographers, me included, prefer the total control offered by studio lights anyway. Maybe I'm just a control freak generally, I don't know, well, probably I do, I am, but I love how much more creativity I can have with artificial light. So for these two reasons, I almost exclusively shoot with artificial studio lights. However, this doesn't mean that I own an enormous lighting setup. In fact, I sometimes shoot with just a single head, a Godox UL150 continuous light. It's the light that's lighting me right now, and I really like it. Continuous lights are great for recreating natural light in terms of the shooting environment as well, because what you see is what you get. You use your camera in the same way you would with natural light in terms of your settings for aperture, shutter speed, ISO, etc. So it is a very simple solution if you are just transitioning from natural light to artificial light. One disadvantage of continuous lights when compared with flash though is a lack of power. Continuous lights such as my Godox LED give out a low but consistent output over a long period of time, meaning they can also be used for video. So they're very versatile, but they don't necessarily accommodate shooting at really fast shutter speeds. Studio strobes or flash heads, on the other hand, give out a really strong charge in the blink of an eye, and then they need to recover for a short while before they can be fired again. The high-powered output makes flash better suited to both achieving a deep depth of field and freezing action, so this gives you a lot more creative freedom. If you're interested in how this looks, check out my video about capturing splash shots, which walks you through this setup with flash. In terms of cost, studio strobes can vary enormously, from just a few $100s for a basic model to several thousand for even an entry-level kit from top brands such as Profoto or Broncolor, either of which could legitimately claim to be the Porsche of studio lighting. And while the advantages of high-end studio lights are numerous, you can achieve amazing results even with the most budget-friendly strobes. The key things to look out for when purchasing strobes for your home studio would be color quality. You want to be able to get as close to daylight or 5,500 kelvins as possible. What the recycle time is if you plan to do quite a bit of continuous shooting, shooting, and the general power output. If you get a flash with a poor power output, you're probably just going to end up frustrated anyway, so it is worth investing a little bit more in something that's going to serve you for much longer. Currently, I use a couple of Pixapro Pica 200 TTL flashes with both bare bulb and speedlight heads. These are compact and portable TTL strobes giving out about 200 watts of light, which is plenty for my purposes when shooting in my little studio. Whenever you're working with flashes that you'll be using as off-camera flashes, you also need to have a trigger that connects to the hot shoe of your camera so they can talk to each other and fire off the flash at the right time. These are normally brand specific, so that's just something you'll want to bear in mind when you're buying your trigger. Whatever type of lighting you go for, you'll need to stand them on something. By far the most stable kind of a lighting stand, without getting into big studio wind-ups and the like, is a C-stand. But this could be overkill if you're just using a small lightweight flash head like a Pica 200, and they may take up too much room in your space. There are plenty of smaller, fully retractable options out there. Just make sure you have something fairly durable and stable. You want to avoid stands with legs that don't spread out very far, as these will be at much greater risk of getting knocked over, and make sure that the little adjusters for the height are sturdy enough as well, because there's nothing worse than watching your light stand sadly deflate on the side of your studio while you're trying to get a great shot. Whether you're using continuous lighting, studio strobes, or speed lights, I highly recommend investing in a diffuser such as a softbox. This will help to soften the light, making it more flattering and easier to work with. Recreating diffused window light, I own two octagonal softboxes, one measuring 120 centimeters, which is the one that's also on me right now, and the other measuring 150 centimeters, both of which work with either my continuous LED light or with my two flash heads, as they both have a standard Bowens mount. The great thing about these softboxes is that they can be double diffused and made more directional by the addition of a honeycomb grid. This gives me the option to create quite a few different lighting looks in one, and I'd highly recommend the 120 centimeter octagonal softbox as a great starting point for a home food photography studio. I really find myself reaching for this softbox most of the time, and it really does me well in most situations. One essential lighting accessory every photographer should own is a 5-in-1 reflector. These are absolute lifesavers. The gold, silver, black, and white sides have you fully covered, either for blocking out light or reflecting it onto your subject. And although the reflector sides are less practical when shooting with studio flash, the clear center panel is a perfect diffuser for harsh direct light. It can even be used in lieu of a softbox, so if you're just getting started, that could also be a solution before you upgrade. You can pick these up really pretty cheaply from most online retailers, and they are worth their weight in gold. It is extremely rare that I don't pull this out for a shoot, and it packs down so small and conveniently. It's just great. You need to get one. You may also want to consider purchasing a few super clamps along with an extra lighting stand so that you can secure your reflector in place and move it around your scene a bit more easily. It just saves you trying to find things to prop it up on and it falling off and all that annoying kind of stuff. So there we go. That's what I recommend for lighting equipment in a small home food photography studio. Of course, all these things are subjective and there are a million different options out there. So I'm curious to know in the comments what your favorite modifiers are. If you want to learn more about food photography, then hit that subscribe button and the notification bell next to it, and I will see you next time. Where is it? Oh no, I knocked my coffee over. I'll be back in a minute.